Try? You have to.
Now, let's go on the other side. Pete's style becomes famous. It's, I mean, you know, I don't, it's my site. You know, Starbucks becomes international, and that style is known worldwide. And certainly, you have a generation that was exposed to coffee with that style now. But there are some roasters that are buying Cup of Excellence coffees or not, and they're roasting so light now. I'm almost going, it's too light. Isn't that, am I tasting something?
Well, I think that, I see that coffees are being roasted much lighter. And, I mean, to continue what I was saying, I mean, it does make sense that coffees that are that good, that aren't these type of Cup of Excellence type coffees that are being, you're paying double or triple or a factor of 10 times more than the market price for coffees this good, that you would want to taste as much of that's really great in the coffee as you can. Now this is where I think we probably both take issue with this type of roast. Basically, I think of the flavor as a triangle, like the flavor versus roast color. And so you can taste, the lighter you roast, the more you can taste. There's no question. However, you have to remember that green coffee is the seed of a plant, and there are acids and flavors in that bean that are quite vegetal, and the roasting process helps break down these acids and turn them into sugars, and that's what. So if you under roast what I would call under roasting the coffee, you have these cryogenic acids, this greenish present in the coffee, no matter how good it is, and then it tastes a little raw. It tastes a little greenish, vegetal. And that if you roast it a little past that, you chop off those edges, and then you're getting the sweetness without the greenishness, and you're getting the complexity without tasting either the greenishness of the under roast, or if you go past, you tend to break down the sugars again into more basic sugars and more single dimensional, and then you're also getting the roasted fiber of the cellulose as opposed to just the oils of the coffee. So then you're starting to get a much more homogeneous caramel if it's done nicely, or burned if it's not, flavor. So, not so dark that you're getting what I've just described, and not so light that you're getting the greenishness, is where I like to roast, and that's where we've always done it. We've never really changed our philosophy. We've never roasted too dark. We roast in a pretty narrow range of colors from light to dark. It's, you know, when people would come in, initially it looked darker than normal, but people from the West Coast would come in and they take a look and they say, oh, this is too light. But this is the way we've always roasted. And the place, I mean, so we don't roast to a color, we don't roast to a number, we don't roast to what anybody else thinks is what's supposed to be. We roast to where I think the coffee tastes right. And that's pretty much what we've always done. It's been pretty consistent about where we're keeping the color. When the Roasters Guild had their first ever Roasters Choice Awards, where they asked for submissions from roasters for their coffee so they could be assessed, the coffee itself and the roast. It was submitted roasted, not green. So the first time that was ever done, we won. So I hope that's a slight vindication of my roast style.
That's a great answer, by the way, because that's what I'm trying to find a way to explain roasting to people, because there are people that the problem with the Cup of Excellence is it travels, the green coffee is represented through the package as if it didn't make any difference what roaster it went through, and it makes, obviously,
it definitely makes a difference. I mean, that's really the difference between great wine and great coffee is great wine is created on the estate. Great coffee it may be originally created on the estate, but then it gets shipped, and wherever it's finished, whether it's New York or Philly, it's going to be two different coffees.
I would add a slight addendum to that. I think great coffee is a cooperative effort of the roaster and whoever finally brews it.
There's no question that the line from the beginning of coffee to the time it's consumed is a much longer chain than of almost any other product, I think.
And also, wine arguably gets better in the bottle. I know people in the wine business say that's not often the case. In coffee, it almost never gets better in the bottle.
No.
Neither the bottle being referred to as the valve bag that it's green in, the valve bag that it's roasted in, and the thermos that it's put in after it's brewed.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely ways to protect it and extend its life briefly, but the sooner the better, basically.
Quick answers. How long does a coffee have from the time it's picked until it's roasted, ideally?
It works out about, ideally, about 10 to 12 weeks, I would say. Some coffees, they may be a little better if they rest in parchment a little longer. Those tend to be coffees that are picked a little early, so that greenishness that you get from the early picking, as opposed to the greenishness that you get from the under roasting, can diminish a little bit, but if it rests a little while. But if coffee is picked properly, well picked, in the mid part of the crop, I'd say about 10 weeks is about right, give or take.
And how long from the time it comes out of your roaster will you brew the coffee?
Well, I mean, if there's no other coffee, I'll brew it for a long time. But generally, I mean, I like to do it in less than a week. But if I've taken a little extra coffee home, I mean, I'll brew it in more than a week. But ideally, really, a week or less. And I don't have any problem brewing it the day it's roasted. I don't, there's some people have an issue that say, it needs to rest a day or two. When coffee is fresh out of the roaster, it's full. It's got more of the carbon dioxide gas that is given off as the aroma, and when you grind it and brew it, it expands. And so, if it's fresh if you brew it the day it's roasted, you get so much of that it could overflow your filter, or it could bubble up over whatever it is you're brewing in, or spray drips of coffee all over the room, which I've seen, but. I don't think flavor-wise it is diminished by being too early out of the roaster.
Those are physical problems, not taste problems.
I think so. But surely what happens is, you do lose flavor as the coffee ages. So if you don't like the acidity and sweetness that you get out of a fresh coffee, you might like it 3 days older. Or I mean, I have people who tell me, coffee is best, 2 weeks old, because by then that carbon dioxide is all gone, and when you grind the coffee, you'll smell fresh coffee. You'll release a little bit, but you won't get. But it will have calmed down. You won't get that great brightness that you would get if the coffee was 2 weeks younger. But that's the great thing about coffee, or one of the great things about coffee, is you can do it just about any one of a million ways. And somebody's going to like it. And, so if everybody liked it the same way, I would never have succeeded in business, I'm pretty sure, because we wouldn't have been offering anything different.